Welcome to AstatorTV. In this video, I am reviewing a tournament replay from a new real-time strategy game called Stormgate. The game is still in early development, but a preview was available for everyone to try for a few days on Steam, so EGC hosted the first large tournament with over $10,000 in cash prizes. Let's jump into the action and I will introduce the factions, units, and features as I describe this match. In the top right corner of the map, with the red color, playing with the Vanguard faction, he is Nanunite. Nanunite is able to play both factions at about the same level. For this map, he chose to play the Vanguard faction, which shares some similarities with the humans from Warcraft 3 and the Terrans from StarCraft. He is sending his free unit called the Scout to explore the base of his opponent. In the bottom left corner of the map, with the blue color, playing the Infernals faction, he is Astator. Yes, this is my 4th round match from the tournament. I only have a few days of experience in this game, but it is also the case for most players. The Infernals faction starts the game with only worker units called imps. The Vanguard workers are called bobs. Workers are required to create buildings that also have a cost in resources, which are mostly harvested by the workers as well. The first resource, called Luminite, is obtained from mining those flashy big rocks, while the second resource, called Therium ore, is harvested around those craters. To help prevent the harassment of my workers, I produced my first brute as soon as my production building was ready. This is a tanky melee unit. It will destroy a Vanguard scout in a one-on-one combat if it can catch it. The second unit I produced is called the Gaunt. It is a fragile ranged unit. The white bar above the Infernals units represents a temporary health shield that accumulates while the unit is located within their base. Once it is depleted, the colored bar indicates the health remaining. In addition to his first barracks, Nanunite got a technology building. It is currently researching an attack improvement for all his scout units. Here I used my imp worker to clear a few trees to open a new path that I plan on using later. Nanunite now has 5 scouts. They are also commonly referred to as dogs for obvious reasons. This is a large enough number to defeat the creep camps located around the map, which provide a small amount of extra resources. However, he decided to postpone that to go for an attack. While my army is on the way to fight the creep camps, the imp got intercepted on his way to build an extension. The upgraded dogs are very strong against light units. A brute just arrived to help. There are also a few fell hogs that are passively produced by the meat farm building that provides population space. The fell hog automatically attacks enemies. It cannot be controlled by the player. At this point, I consider bringing back my main army because I am unsure if this could be followed up by even more units from a proxy barracks. But since Nanunite is releasing pressure, I decided to go ahead and fight my first camp. He is opting to construct an expansion. He used the special overcharge ability of the Vanguard to temporarily boost the construction speed of these bobs. Infernals especially benefit from clearing camps because an infestation is applied by the Gaunts, which creates those small fiend units once the critter dies. Here Nanunite correctly predicted that I would be busy fighting this camp. He quickly took out 2 of my Gaunts. He wants to kill more, but he has to be careful not to get surrounded by the fiends, as the scouts are fragile themselves. Those fiends kinda feel like Zerglings from StarCraft. The Infernals faction does share a mix of some features from the Zerg race in StarCraft, the Orcs and the Undead from Warcraft. This is not surprising because several of the core Stormgate developers are the same people that created StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3. Now we see some of the vision camps. They provide temporary vision of a large area and the addition to resources. My army is now clearing the resource camps in the center of the map. The scout from Nanunite is using its increased vision ability to spot the exposed counts. Nice catch by him, but he also lost a couple dogs. Nanunite has started producing lancers. This is a tanky melee unit with a line-shaped area attack. It is very good at holding the front line of a vanguard army. Here is my natural expansion base, which is almost completed, but a little bit late compared to ideal. Here I am checking that my opponent does not have a third base in this location, while I clear this creep camp which provides health recovery to units in range. Nanunite is now comfortable to leave the safety of the defenses at this ramp. I decided that I was not ready to face 7 lancers yet. Here a little bit of miscontrol with my group of fiends. I am trying to compensate for the loss of several of my units up to that point by clearing as many creep camps as possible. The creeps do respawn after a while and they become stronger each time. I also started expanding to a third base on the left side. Nanunite is looking for a fight. He focused on and killed another gaunt. The Shroud Stone static defense located on the high ground is helping to fight back. Here is coming reinforcements on the flank. They position to cut off the retreat and attack the more fragile exo-ranged units in the back. Those remind me of StarCraft Marines but with a stronger attack. Here I struggle to catch the retreating lancers because they have the upgrade to increase movement speed when they take damage. I want to finish off as many wounded units as possible, otherwise they could later get healed back to full health. However, I have to turn back because of the sentry post defenses. The vanguard sentry post is a very interesting idea of a building that changes depending on which unit you place inside. I arrived just in time to clear the vision camp after the respawn. By the way, let's keep in mind that several of the graphics are just preliminary placeholders. I do not think that the toy dog with the radar antenna will make it to the final version. Here, a couple of my injured units collected a small healing flower laying on the ground. It is a very minor benefit. Nanunite is efficiently healing his injured units at the health camps while setting up his third base. Once again, I captured the second vision camp. My fourth base is on the way. I find it easier to control multiple bases in Stormgate in comparison to StarCraft. This is because the user interface has hotkeys that consolidates all production. Nanunite is choosing to construct several sentry post static defenses. This is likely because army drops into the backline is a very popular Infernals strategy in the ranked Diamond League. However, I did not choose to attempt using transport units this game. Nanunite is adding medtechs to his army. This is a spellcasting unit mainly for healing, but they do have a weak attack as well. We just saw one of the Vanguard building named Habitat turn indigo color. This indicates that this building, primarily providing population space, has obtained the reinforced ability to apply a shield on a nearby building. Here are 2 new units in the Infernals army. The Hellborn is a long-range artillery unit that has a conic area damage attack. The Magmadon is a very tanky melee unit that is useful for this large area trample ability. It is in the best interest of the opponent to run away when this stampede is in progress. Whenever possible, the Vanguard player will often try to kite and focus fire down the Magmadons. Here Nanunite is being caught a little too close to the Magmadon. His units are suffering from sporadic stuns. I am now retreating from the Vanguard defenses. I am satisfied enough with having asserted control of the map center. Nanunite is boosting his bobs to go establish a fort mining operation in the north. The level 3 creep camps provide more resources. The couple shroud stones in center that are helping with killing the creeps are also generating the grey shroud on the ground, which is slowly replenishing the Infernals' temporary white shield. We can notice that several of the Infernals units in my army occupy a large space. Managing around the limited available space in fighting areas is part of a layer of strategy in this game. Nanunite just obtained a vision from the north camp, while I am building defenses at my fresh 5th base. It is typical for the Infernals to try to control more bases than their vanguard opponent. Also, taking up to the next tier of technology power is currently not an option as it is not accessible in this early beta test. I am eager to discover what it will include, perhaps some heavier flying units. There are still currently many options with 10 more accessible units that are not showcased in this replay, and an entire third faction that is yet to be revealed. Nanunite is moving toward the South Vision camp. Here is likely a misrally on his first Vulcan unit. The Vulcan is a tanky mechanical unit with a ranged attack that becomes stronger the longer it is continuously firing. Nanunite is approaching to contest the center position. He focused down one of the Magmadon. The slower Infernals melee units have trouble reaching the kiting Vanguard infantry. However, the Hellborns in the back have long enough range to deal some damage. Nanunite decides to retreat. In battles like this, we really feel the satisfaction from the great performance of the game engine. The distribution of the multiplayer servers across multiple locations is also contributing to likely the most responsive RTS experience that exists to this day. Nanunite is attempting a pincer maneuver, but he is confronted earlier on the north side. However, he was successful in baiting the trample from the Magmadons. The trample ability provides full mobility to the Magmadons that otherwise could stay stuck in the back. This also exposed the squishier Hellborns. The armies of the two players are suffering heavy casualties. But here it is the Vanguard that is running out of firepower. The remaining med units are mostly med techs. Nanunite is now running away. As a Vanguard player, you really want to keep each unit alive as much as possible because of the Veterancy perks. Veterancy is awarded after a unit has accumulated enough battle experience. It provides health and damage bonuses. The few tiers are identified by small yellow chevron symbols. I brought a few imps on the battlefield. This is because of the upgrade that allows them to become a running ticking bomb. Unfortunately, here they exploded after their maximum duration of 4 seconds, failing to deal damage. I think it is a good idea to give such ability to a unit that could otherwise become mostly obsolete in the late game. I find it very fun to use and it can have a real impact on the outcome of some games. Despite not introducing major innovation to the RTS genre, Stormgate is still successfully combining several clever design choices and features. I can say that I am having a lot of fun discovering those and exploring ways to best leverage them. Here I observed that my opponent does not have yet expanded to the eastern location, but I still place my army into position there. This is because a few units have the ability to open a path through the forest, including the trample ability of the Magmadon. The Bobs are quickly evacuating. I want to destroy the command post as quickly as possible to make room for my large units. Both the Magmadons and the Hellborns are good at dealing damage to buildings. The many Magmadons are rushing forward. The Vanguard infantry does not have much room to kite. some of the Magmadons were able to connect. The number of Lancers is very low. Several of the buildings are getting destroyed. Good connections by the Magmadons on the infantry ball. This is dealing huge amount of damage. Nanunite is in deep trouble and surrenders. The victory goes to Astator. My celebration was short-lived as I went to get eliminated from the tournament in the following round. Overall, I think Stormgate has a lot of potential. The 3 players team co-op mode with heroes could attract some of the MOBA crowd. I predict that the biggest strength will be the responsive gameplay and interface. Hopefully, they manage to improve those early goofy graphics of the vanguard buildings and units. But even if not, do not let that prevent you from trying the game yourself, as it will be free to play anyway. The biggest flaw could be the lack of randomness in map layout generation, which favors copying map-specific gimmicky builds while there is no strategic decision-making to adapt to an unseen layout. Therefore, the competitive 1v1 scene might end up feeling more like a skill-dependent execution battle than a strategic battle. For now though, it does feel fun and I will certainly play more. I do recommend watching the AGC-TV stream on Twitch to see the top players competing during the finals weekend on February 17 and 18. Hit this subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching till the end. Goodbye.